Hi, my name is Kenlesia Brown. I'm a senior supply chain management student, and I'm here with Professor Amy Ellis talking about the supply chain management program.
Thank you, Kenlesia. My name's Amy Ellis, as Kenlesia said, and I've been a professor here at Georgia Southern for the past 6 years. I came to Georgia Southern by way of two other academic institutions prior to this, Clemson University and University of Kentucky. But prior to that time, I spent about 20 years in professional leadership positions at companies such as General Motors Corporation, Delphi Corporation, and Group Schneider.
That sounds like an impressive background. What are some of the classes that you teach here at Georgia Southern?
Well, at Georgia Southern, I teach the Logistics 2232 class, which is the Introduction to Supply Chain Management class. So that is the first class that any student interested in majoring in supply chain would actually take first. I also teach some other classes, one of which is the OSCM 3437 class, which is Service Operations Management. And from time to time, I teach the OSCM 4435 class, which is a Lean Six Sigma class.
So what is supply chain management for those who don't really know what it is?
That is a great question, Kenlesia. And if you may remember from your past experience in 2232, that's a question I often ask my students on the very first day of class. If they had to explain to a neighbor, a friend, a relative, someone they may be babysitting, hey, what is it that you're studying at Georgia Southern? And they say, oh, supply chain management, to be able to explain that to them. So one of the things that most people aren't really aware of is that everyone is really part of supply chains, whether they're paying attention to that or not, because everyone's a customer of something at some point in time. And supply chains really span from suppliers all the way through customers. And the interesting thing about supply chains is that no one really knows what it is when everything's working well in a supply chain. But when the supply chain breaks and there's a disruption, all of a sudden everyone knows. And so with the past experience that we've had with COVID, obviously there was a major disruption. Customers go to the store and they tend to find an empty shelf for something they wanted to get, like maybe a roll of paper towels. Then all of a sudden, everyone is now aware of what supply chain management is. So if we think about supply chain management just from a simple term, I got a prop for you, Kenlesia, just a simple water bottle. Okay, so we look at the water bottle, we all see them every day. We take every single process step for granted that goes into making a water bottle, okay? From getting the raw materials to making the plastic, the cap, the label, the water itself, and the process that you take to actually refine the water. There's a lot involved in this. And getting it all the way from raw materials to getting it into the hands of the customer. That's supply chain management. And doing so cost effectively, efficiently, is very, very important. So most people think there's a huge profit on this, but in fact there's not. So any waste that you can drive out of the process, that is all part of supply chain management.
Thank you. So from past experience, I know that you are big on resumes in your classes. So for students who are learning how to just build their resumes, what are some advice that you have for them?
Well, it's never too early to start working on resumes. So when students come into my 2232 class, that's one of the very first things I ask them to do. As you are probably aware, the Logistics and Supply Chain Management Department hosts a roundtable event every fall and spring, which is eventually a discipline-specific career event where we invite employers to come in, and it's an opportunity for students to go around and engage with employers to discuss opportunities for internships and full-time jobs. So their resumes have to be in tip-top shape for that interaction. That is their first, what I call, moment of truth, that first interaction they have with those company representatives. And so they really do need to take the time. Sometimes when they hand me their resume, I look at it, I'm like, please don't give this to anyone. So we work through it and we make sure, so students will come to me and go, well, I haven't really had an internship, I don't have any supply chain management experience. And so we sit down and we talk about it for a few minutes and we find out that, hey, maybe they worked for a grocery store chain. You know what? Guess what happens in grocery stores? There's a lot of inventory at grocery stores. Well, inventory happens to be a big part of supply chain management. You, in fact, do find out that they do have some supply chain management skills. They just haven't realized it at that point. So we try to frame the work experience that they do have by using supply chain terms and quantifying everything that they can to let or signal to employers that they are already thinking in the supply chain world in terms of terminology and have direction in terms of where they want to go.
And for those who want to start building out on activities on campus, what are some clubs that you recommend for them?
Well, on campus, Kenlasia, there are a number of clubs, but specific to our discipline, there's 2 clubs in particular. So the first one is GSLA, the Georgia Southern Logistics Association, and the other one is WISE, which you are a founding board member of. It's very instrumental, for those of you who don't know. She's a founding member, very instrumental in getting that organization off the ground. WISE stands for Women Impacting Supply Chain Excellence. Now, while the name Women is in there, it is open to all members, anybody interested. We have managed to attract both guys, girls, everybody that's interested has been coming to that. It's a new organization. Getting involved in those clubs is important, but let me specify what I mean by getting involved. So not just being a member, not just being a seat warmer, but actually being a doer. You will be welcomed with open arms. And one thing about supply chain management is that we are focused on building relationships. So we'll learn that supply chain management is really a team sport. And any team, you have to know all your team members, and that starts with building those relationships, building those networks, and making those connections. So getting involved and being part of that and being able to communicate that on your resume, that you are in fact involved and engaged in these types of activities and events on campus, is very important. Now, outside of campus, if you will, there are also professional organizations that students can engage with. Some of those organizations include IANA, CSCMP, ISM, and ASCM. And ASCM in particular has a Savannah chapter, so very, very much close to us here. And what ASCM Savannah offers to our students is they offer free membership to the students. But they also invite students to come along on all of their tours that they go on. So they go on a variety of tours every year. Those are free. It's an opportunity for students to engage with professionals in the Savannah area and in supply chain management. But also these professionals from ASCM Savannah are offering mentorship to these students. So any student that wishes to reach out and connect with a mentor, they are ready, willing, and able. So they are looking forward to giving back and helping us here at Georgia Southern grow our future supply chain leaders. So getting involved in that as well is super important.
As you've been discussing supply chain management, a major theme is that it's very vast and it has several opportunities. So what are some career opportunities that students might have when they are applying for a supply chain management job?
Okay, well, here at Georgia Southern, what most students may not necessarily understand at first is that we really offer 2 different paths that students can choose within the major. And one of the 2 paths is LIT, or Logistics and Intermodal Transportation. And the other path is called OSM, or Operations and Supply Management. And so they really do offer 2 different paths. You can see that with the different courses that we offer, so if students are trying to figure that out. We do talk about that in detail in 2232, so they don't need to make that decision before they take 2232. They have plenty of time to really investigate and see what kind of strikes a chord with them in particular. But the types of jobs, if we're looking at the LIT side, those are typically logistics planners, logistics analysts. They may be a customer service account representative for a brokerage firm, for example. If you're interested in sales, that's a great place to go to, working for a brokerage firm, so you can have a potential to earn a lot of money in commission if you're interested in sales, and there's preparation for that, obviously, if you pursue the LIT emphasis. If you pursue the OSM side, a little bit different of a scenario over there in terms of the different opportunities that are available. You could find yourself as a demand manager. You could find yourself as an inventory manager, an operations manager. There's a wide variety of different types of positions that you could possibly pursue on the OSM side. Oh, buyer, purchasing, sourcing, all of those will fall under the OSM side, and you'll have preparation for those careers as well, should you choose the OSM path.
So as you've been teaching here for a few years now, what has been some of your favorite memories at Georgia Southern?
Oh, my favorite memories. Well, one always comes back to me. There was a student that I had, and he had kind of had a rough go of it. So if you're a student and you're like, I didn't do so great, my GPA might have taken a hit. Things happen, life happens, and that's going to happen to everyone eventually at some point. So this poor student, he was feeling a little down and out, and it was the time for the roundtable event. It was approaching us rapidly. They were getting ready to approach graduation. The roundtable event, this one was in the fall in particular. This particular student was going to graduate in May, but he wanted to start trying to find a job in the fall so that he had plenty of time so that when he did graduate, he would be set. He was concerned GPA was quite low. So we talked about it. They actually hijacked one of my classes one day to talk about how to prepare for the roundtable event. So we spent some time talking about how to approach employers and how to strike up a conversation with them at the roundtable event, how to make sure your resume is in good shape. So this particular student ended up coming away from that roundtable event with an interview at Target Corporation. And I'm happy to share that today that particular student has now graduated 2 years ago this May and has gone through a series of 3, maybe 4 promotions, I think at least 3 promotions at this point, having a very, very successful career. That GPA, while it set them back temporarily, it certainly did not define that person and who they are at work. And definitely a stellar performer at Target, and it's being recognized externally. So while we recognize talent here, and certainly the student was actually a talented student, the external recognition is there, validation is there, as Target is also seeing the talent that we saw here.
So what are some of the major employers that students can look forward to interviewing for?
Well, that's a great question, Kenlasia. We are very fortunate here in our supply chain program because there is a considerable amount of demand for our students. On the LIT side, our students are being hired by a variety of different firms, including companies like C.H. Robinson, J.B. Hunt, Gear Logistics, amongst many, many others out there that I'm sure I'm not saying at the moment, but there are the list is extensive. On the OSM side, our students are also being hired by a wide variety of employers, like Manhattan Associates, which I know you're very familiar with. Companies like Target, Home Depot, Gulfstream, Aerospace. Just a wide variety of different firms that are out there. That's kind of the neat thing about supply chain management is we are not necessarily locked into working for one specific type of firm, but rather you can work for a P&G, or you can work for Estee Lauder, for example. There are a variety of different companies that you can go to. J&J, you can work in pharmaceutical industry. So there's really, the sky's the limit with supply chain. Everyone needs help with supply chain, whether they are manufacturing physical products or they are delivering services. Supply chain management is needed by all firms, and we've had the very fortunate experience here of many of our students receiving multiple offers. So the opportunity is there. If students are willing to roll up their sleeves and get involved, you're definitely needed.
Thank you, Amy, for joining us here today. I hope that you guys are able to have her as a professor one day, and thank you so much for learning about supply chain management and all the great career opportunities here.